One of the lawyers for the Ukrainian sailors held by Russia's security services after a standoff in the Sea of Asov has accused the Kremlin of taking prisoners of war. In an interview for Euronews, he demanded the release of the soldiers who were captured close to the coast of Crimea in November. Galina Polonskaya is in Moscow this morning. Good morning to Galina. Now, you spoke with some of those lawyers. The soldiers have been held for over 3 weeks now. What do you know about the condition that they're in?
Good morning, Belle. The team of the lawyers will be presented in Kyiv today, and I've spoken with 2 of them, and they say that those sailors are the prisoners of war. They have to be released immediately, according with the Geneva Convention, which was ratified by Russia. The lawyers managed to visit 11 sailors the last week, including the wounded. The wounded seem to recover, even though there is still a long way to go. All of these sailors are in a very positive state of mood. They do not complain at all, even though the lawyers say that the pressure is very high, as most of these sailors are being kept in the famous Lefortovo detention center, which is de facto controlled by the FSB. They are isolated from the outer world, separated one from each other. They live in tiny cells with no hot water, no right for phone calls, only letters. The access of the lawyers is very restricted. They do not have any hope to see the family members soon, as it is the Russian investigators who decide that, and the lawyers underline that the destiny of those 24 Ukrainian sailors is 100% in the hands of the Kremlin. Let's take a listen.
I believe that Russia should assume the international obligation that it took and ratified. As they arrived on 3 ships, they should also be returned back home as one crew. At this stage, we are talking about prisoners of war. Here, the question above all is political, of course, unfortunately. We will now demand liberation. But it is the country's leadership which has to make a decision on the exchange or release.
The lawyers also say that the West has to put high pressure on Russia in this issue, and that could be a game changer.
And Galina, yesterday we saw some protests outside the Russian security services headquarters. You talked to some of those protesters. What were they asking for?
Putin released the sailors. That's what was written on one of the posters that I filmed and saw yesterday. One of the protesters could hold it only for seconds, as he was detained immediately by the police. This protest was not authorized by the authorities. And the protesters whom I spoke with, they say that the Ukrainian sailors are the prisoners of war. They have to be detained immediately. And they also asked, they demanded an immediate seizure of this confrontation with the Ukraine, saying that it will be the Russians who will pay a very high price for this aggression.